President Trump, who has often mused about the idea of a third term, is now weighing in on whether or not he would run in 2028. Something, by the way, the Constitution pretty clearly doesn't allow. Here's what he's told NBC's Kristen Welker.
The Trump Organization is selling hats that say Trump 2028.
Yeah.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else, but there are many people selling the 2028 hat. But this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody, ideally a great Republican, to carry it forward. But I think we're going to have 4 years, and I think 4 years is plenty of time to do something really spectacular.
The Constitution does prohibit it. Some of your allies are pretty serious about this, though, Mr. President. I've spoken to them. They say they are coming up with potential ways.
Well,
obviously, the biggest one would be a constitutional amendment.
That's because they like the job I'm doing, and it's a compliment.
Has anyone in an official capacity presented you with, sir, here are some ideas by which you could actually get a constitutional amendment?
Well, in a capacity of being a big supporter, many people have said different things, but I'm not looking at that.
Okay, so he says so many people want him to do it. Max, he also says he's not going to, though. Do you buy it?
I don't buy anything he says. I think particularly in a post-Jan 6th world, you can't buy anything this guy says, particularly when it's tempered. And also, of course, when he surrounds himself with sycophants, I'm not surprised that people every day are coming to him saying, sir, we want you for 4 more terms. You know, FDR did it. You could, too. But there's one element of this today that was extraordinarily smart on the part of Donald Trump, because when, and this is politics 101, when you have a series of policy failures, you say something that is outrageous to distract people. And if you look at the first 100 days of this guy's term, where he spent his time tanking the economy, firing tens of thousands of veterans, and swarming the American people with higher costs, higher chaos, and higher corruption, it's politically smart to say outrageous things and try to shift the conversation.
So, Tim O'Brien, you know Trump better than most journalists working, even those who have obsessively covered him for so long, because you have the distinction of having been sued by him, and you actually know how much he was worth at a certain point in his life.
That's all true.
So now watching how this second term has played out, what do you make of it? And what do you make of his motivation at this stage and how he's changed?
Well, I mean, I think his motivations have always stayed the same. You know, you can understand most of what he does through 2 lenses. It's either self-aggrandizement or self-preservation. It's really rarely anything other than those 2 things. And I think when he's getting into a Sunday show where he's kicking around the idea of whether he'll run again, I agree with Max. I don't think we can believe anything he's saying. I think Donald Trump would like to live till he's 300, and I think he'd like to be president for 200 more years if he could. And I don't think we'll really know where he lands on this till we get towards the end of his term. You know, he was happy putting out under the White House imprimatur photos of himself in the guise of the Pope. I don't think he's got any inclination to let it just go away, whether or not he's going to run for the presidency again. But as I was watching that clip, you know, one of the things that really struck me is Donald Trump has aged. You know, when people talk about the things that are going to get in the way of a third term for Donald Trump, obviously it's voters, obviously it's the 22nd Amendment, but he's turning 79 in June. He lives in fear of going down the path his father went down, which was dementia followed by Alzheimer's into his 90s. And I think he's carried that burden forever. And watching how he answers questions now compared to Donald Trump and Trump 1.0, he slurs his words a little. He looks weary. He is slouched. And I don't know how much authentic enthusiasm he has for the power and the office he holds, other than the fact that it keeps him out of jail and it keeps him center stage.
So who inherits all of this?
J.D.
when
Vance.
it's inevitably over? J.D. Vance, you're sure of that?
Well, I mean,
he
yeah,
mentioned Marco Rubio in the interview.
Yeah,
with
I just don't
Welker.
see that. Donald Trump, I think Marco Rubio is a chess piece to Donald Trump. I think he looks at J.D. Vance as someone who could be his successor. And I think he's going to play a significant role in a Vance presidency, should Vance become president. Anyway.
So do you agree with that?
No, I don't think anyone inherits it. You know, what we've seen over the course of the last 10 years of our politics is that now Democrats have an advantage in midterm elections when Trump is not on the ballot, and he does have an exceptional ability to turn out irregular voters, and no other Republican, no matter how much they want to say that they're MAGA, has shown an ability to do that. So this is not yet a political
party. I agree with that. I'm just saying, but I just mean that if he had his choice, Vance would be his successor. But I agree with you that nobody has his particular mojo. We found that out with DeSantis.
So Tim, you indicated that you think Trump is mostly in the job because he kind of like wants to stay out of jail. But it does seem like he's really enjoying the transactional nature of it. The Wall Street Journal had this great story recently that you may have seen that talked about how all of these CEOs and other executives are coming hat in hand, and they're being coached on what to tell him. You know, that like you should tell Donald Trump that it's going to hurt people in red states if he keeps the tariffs on. Don't mention the people in the blue states. So it does seem like he's still, you know, enjoying that transactional part of it.
Well, I think in the same way that, you know, he was in his element at the RNC. I was there in Milwaukee, and he was sort of sitting like the Emperor Claudius up in the stands, and DeSantis came out and kissed the ring, and Nikki Haley came out and kissed the ring, and then he slagged them within weeks of the convention ending. And now he's got CEOs coming in and kissing the ring. Of course he loves those. That's the part of the office he loves. But successful presidents and important presidents make policy. They solve complex problems for the American people. They don't simply jump around on a pogo stick enjoying people bending the knee.
Sure. He also loves that people can buy billions of dollars of his crypto under the table.
Yes.
The grift continues.
Organizations doing a lot of business in different places in the Middle East.
Golf courses.
Just total
and
coincidence.